The 1986 Minnesota Vikings highlights are brought to you by New York Life and its 9,500 agents and representatives who offer you quality financial products and services to help you get the most out of life.
With summer camp two-a-days at Mankato finally behind them, a determined team made their way toward the Metrodome. A capacity crowd anxiously awaited their 1986 Vikings. Each year brings new challenges and new hopes. And in 1986, a proud franchise and its fans shared in a year of excitement.
Wing to the left is Darren Nelson. Single setback is Allen Rice. Back to throw, Kramer on first down. Scrambles to his right, going deep. Down the middle, he's got Hobbs on Jones. He's got it at the 5. Touchdown, Minnesota Vikings. Again, the rush by Doug Martin. And it's picked up. It's picked up by Joey Browner. He's to the near side of the play. He's deep, it's 10. He holds out the ball. He scores.
From opening day through a full 16 weeks, they battled, battering a path to their finest season in 6 years. An Irishman's heart is never at peace unless he's in the middle of a fight, and Jerry Burns' men fought to the finish. A red-hot quarterback directed an offense that scored the most points in club history. And young defenders poured in on the pass pocket like their proud predecessors. The Minnesota Vikings. 1986 was a proud season to build on. They're a team to be reckoned with. A team back on the attack. In the Metrodome, almost anyone can find a seat near the front row. Precious little Heidi can do as she pleases. Even the evil Darth Vader is free to brandish his laser sword. But despite 18 years of service and helping to guide the team to 4 Super Bowls, head coach Jerry Burns was not allowed on the field on opening day.
Well, I came down there to go on the field, and one of the security guards wouldn't let me come on the field because I did not put on my bench pass. You know, he had a job to do. I wasn't going to say anything at the time. I just went back and got a bench pass.
Armed with a bench pass and his Irish wit, Jerry Burns was precisely the man the Vikings needed.
Well, Burns he's an emotional coach, complete opposite of Bud Grant, and you know, the team has just kind of rallied around that attitude.
Burnsy. For years, he molded an innovative Viking offense. But with the head coaching job came new responsibilities. So he hired 23-year veteran Bob Snelker to coordinate the offense. Lineman Tim Irwin and the rest of the players liked the new approach.
59 draw.
We aren't a dink and dunk team anymore. It's not always trick them or dink them and dunk them. It's more go at them with the power stuff and throw the ball downfield. We're more offensive in our offense. I like to think we're the complete offense.
Up action fake, looking deep. Kramer unloads it. Way behind it. Defender is Leo Lewis. He's got it at the 25, the 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Leo Lewis. And the
With 41 years of combined experience in moving the football, Burns and Snelker knew well that scoring points started with a tough offensive line. Veterans Tim Irwin, Terry Tausch, Dennis Swilley, David Huffman, and Jim Huff stood firm as Minnesota fielded its finest line in 8 years. Under the pressure of being the next Ron Yeri, a newcomer solidified things up front. Opting to give up New York's bright lights for Minnesota's clean air and lakes, Gary Zimmerman takes pride in how far the line has come.
I think the 10 of us have really worked hard to protect Tommy, and the patterns and the plays of receivers are getting open quicker, so it's a group effort. Everybody's getting open quicker, they're running faster routes, and the fact that we're pass blocking a lot more, we're getting better as we go on at it.
The Vikings outscored everyone in the entire NFC without a 1,000-yard rusher or receiver. In a word, it's known as balance. Number 83, Steve Jordan, is one of the best tight ends in the game. Balance also comes from the system, where reserve Wade Wilson could easily step in and fire a deep touchdown strike to Anthony Carter. A system in which Hassan Jones made the big play when Anthony Carter missed the first month of the season. Flexibility was another reason for a record-breaking year. Flexibility in the form of all-purpose star Darren Nelson, whose rushing and receiving totaled nearly 1,400 yards. Unselfishness, where Ted Brown would pave the way for fullback Alfred Anderson. Teamwork, as a stubborn line would provide time for a play-action pass to Allen Rice out of the backfield. The system, flexibility, unselfishness, and teamwork. Reasons why the Vikings could score anytime from anywhere. But perhaps two words truly sum up why the attack was so unstoppable. Tommy Kramer.
Tommy's a competitor. I don't care if we were playing for the Super Bowl or we're playing the first game of the year. He goes in with the same attitude. He goes in to win the game, and he plays for the full 60 minutes.
I think when you're the youngest of 11 children, it's a fight for everything. So I feel you either go one of two ways. You either become a real competitor, or you back off and become very shy and don't care to get into things too much. And I chose the route of the competitor, and that's the way I've always been.
Number 9 leads by example. If it means taking on a 280-pound lineman, then so be it. In 1986, Kramer was the highest-rated quarterback in the NFL. His experience enabled him to get the ball to the open man, many times to Steve Jordan.
When he's out on the field, he's nonstop. He's just constantly trying to think of ways to, get the ball moving and that type of thing. And when he's on fire.
Kramer threw more touchdown passes than anyone in the conference. In the first half of the season, he played flawlessly, especially in the season's 4th week, when he dedicated the game to his mother, sick at home.
I didn't tell my teammates about it or anything, so I just was going to go out and play that game for her, and hope that it could help her in any way that it could. And then I got a game ball for that game, sent it down to her, had her name printed on it, and she was real excited about that.
On 2nd and 20 as Kramer steps up into the pocket, throws on the move. He's got Jordan inside the 5. He goes to the goal line. Touchdown Vikings. Steve Jordan scores.
With Marie Kramer at home watching, the youngest of her 11 kids masterfully led the 11-man Viking offense. And with the crowd urging him on, Tommy kept on firing touchdown pass after touchdown pass.
Gives a play action fake to Darren Nelson into the end zone. Wide open. Touchdown Steve Jordan. And the Vikings are making it look ridiculous. Kramer throws a fly in the left corner. Touchdown Hassan Jones as he was interfered with.
Kramer threw 4 touchdown passes in the first quarter alone. But after his 6th, with team and league records for the taking, he sat down settling for a game ball and a smile from his mom.
It was very nice. I had 5 right at the half, and then the next series we went in and scored, and then after that they said they were taking me out. I said, well, what are you taking me out for? I can break the record today. I said I can tie it with 1 and break it with 2. They said, no, just save it for a bigger game. So I just, let it be at that.
That bigger game came 2 Sundays later in Week 6 against the 2-time world champion 49ers. With a pair of big first quarter plays, Kramer and the Vikings took the upper hand.
Kramer barks out the call, takes a snap, 2-step drop, quick slant, touchdown Anthony Carter. Oh, he was wide open.
When Gerald Robinson blocked a punt and Isaac Holt recovered it for a touchdown, Minnesota held a 14-7 advantage. A classic soon unfolded, intense and fiercely fought. San Francisco stormed back with 17 unanswered points, putting the Vikings in a deep third quarter hole. Down by 10, on the road, against a powerhouse, Minnesota stood at a crossroad. A young, inexperienced team might have folded, but not the Vikings.
Shotgun spread. Looks like Kramer might be audibilizing. Direct snap to Kramer. Stays in the pocket. Pumps once. Looks. Throws deep down the middle. Double coverage in the end zone. Carter. A touchdown. Anthony Carter. Touchdown.
Overtime would decide it. Minnesota won the toss. Kramer drove his offense. The Vikings ripped through San Francisco. All that could be heard was a wave or two washing up on the bay and a circling seagull as Chuck Nelson eyed the uprights.
It'll be a 27-yard drive for the win in overtime for Chuck Nelson and the Vikings. Here's the snap. Bobbles gets it up. Here's the kick. It is up. It is good. The Vikings win. Another great job by Coleman, who dug out a low snap.
They had bolted from the starting gate and stood at 4-2. Minnesota was back on the attack. In order to climb up to the level of a contender, the Vikings must make the Metrodome an arena opponents hate to enter. To that end, Jerry Burns hired Floyd Peters as defensive coordinator. Keith Millard knows that where Peters goes, sacks follow.
Floyd brings an aggressive type style defense. You got the lineman teeing off, coming off the ball every time, rushing the passer, taking care of run second, and hoping our linebackers do a good job to back us up, and it's been stopping a lot of people.
The Vikes have returned to their infamous four-man front with Maverick Keith Millard, number 75, its spearhead.
I'm kind of a fired up, do my own thing kind of guy, say what's on my mind. Some players might think I have a big mouth. I just think it's the Irish blood in me.
Millard led the team in sacks for the second straight year as a key member of a defense that dealt in disruption. It's hard to believe that Tim Newton weighs 280 pounds when you see number 96 move. The key to disrupting an opponent is pressure up the middle, and the Vikings got that in a variety of ways. Veteran end Doug Martin had 9 sacks and likes nothing better than meeting his longtime ally Mark Mullaney at the quarterback. Gerald Robinson will help stir up trouble, something one special Viking has done for years. For a decade, Scott Studwell has worn the battle scars of survival in the NFL wars, burying his double fives into ball carriers. And in 1986, Studwell became Minnesota's all-time leading tackler as nearly 1,500 collisions put him atop the list. The big play has been his trademark over the years, a tradition carried on by versatile defenders like number 56, Chris Dolman.
Deuce backfield now, motion goes Wilder to the right. Back to throw on 2nd and 9 is DeBerg. He's got time. He pumps, he steps up, throws over the middle. It's caught, ball knocked loose, picked off for the Vikes. Down the near sidelines, it's Dolman. He's to the 35, the 25, the 20, the 15, the 10, the 5. Chris Dolman goes in for a touchdown.
Chris Martin and number 99, David Howard, are young hitters with a nose for the ball. Rookie Jesse Solomon, number 54, is cut from the same mold, while Isaac Holt led the team with 8 interceptions. Holt is a physical corner who can cover and close in a hurry. Carl Lee, number 39, picked off 3. And at safety, the Vikings combined a veteran savvy with a Pro Bowler's ability. John Harris is the NFC's leading active interceptor. And all Joey Briner did was lead the team in tackles, intercept 4 passes, force 3 fumbles, recover 4, and earn a trip to the Pro Bowl. The Viking defense, aggressive and improving. But a stiff test lay ahead in Week 7.
Hello again, everybody. Along with Stu Boyd and the rest of our crew, this is Joe McConnell speaking to you from the Metrodome. And it will be a capacity-filled Metrodome. In fact, they could have sold twice as many tickets as they have seats here today for this matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the defending world champion Chicago Bears.
The Bear defense is the best. In 1986, they set an NFL record. But in this game, the Viking defense took center stage. The defense set the tone, and the offense responded.
Lewis in motion for the right side, dropping straight back to passes. Kramer, he pumps, he throws, a wobbler down the near side. Anderson has it. He's at the 15, the 10, the 5. He staggers. He goes in for the touchdown. Alfred Anderson. Out of the slot, left to the right, in motion goes little Leo Lewis. There's a quick slant over the middle. It's caught. It's going to be a touchdown. At the 30, it's Anthony Carter to the 10. 5, touchdown Vikings. On a quick slant over the middle. Anthony Carter.
This wasn't a game. It was a happening. Chicago had worn the robes of kings. Now Mike Ditka watched his undefeated champions unravel. The Bears were beaten at their own game as intimidation and pressure did them in. And when Kramer scored on his own, Chicago was knocked from the ranks of the unbeaten.
He's got a chance to run it in. He scores! There'll be a late hit on Kramer, and Mike Singletary has been flagged for the late hit. The Vikes lead 22-0.
San Francisco was beaten, and now Chicago. Minnesota was once again among the elite. Freezing winter winds stripped lonely trees of their leaves, and with dropping temperatures, the Vikings were stripped of their good fortune. Darren Nelson's heroics couldn't overcome an injury to punter Greg Coleman, and the Vikings lost to Cleveland 23-20. The following week in Washington, Tommy Kramer passed for an incredible 490 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Vikings lost in overtime. Facing long yardage and certain defeat, the eventual world champions handed the Vikes a bitter loss by completing a 4th down prayer and kicking a field goal with seconds remaining. To make matters worse, their quarterback and leader was injured. But though they had lost some games, they hadn't lost their spirit. When you look back on the Viking season, it's easy to remember that one more win would have put them into the playoffs. But what is easily forgotten is that they won 3 of their last 4 and were in the hunt until the end. The finishing kick began with a drubbing of Tampa Bay as Minnesota rolled 45-13 behind Wade Wilson.
Carter wide to the near side, wide left. Leo Lewis, deuce backfield again, dropping back to pass. Wade Wilson looking deep. Down the middle, he's got Jordan wide open. He makes the grab, goes in for the touchdown. Wilson drops back to throw. Now he's going to run, throws out on the right side, and it's caught for the score by Allen Rice. Anderson in motion, out of the deuce backfield to the right. Rolling to the right now. Wilson throwing deep down the right side for Anderson, makes the grab. Touchdown in the right corner of the end zone. He beats Tito McKeever down the near right sideline. And the Vikes are really putting up the score now.
Wilson earned Player of the Week honors by shredding the Saints for 361 yards and 3 touchdowns in a 33-17 rout. A young team with a great deal to prove had done just that and had many occasions for celebration. For true lovers of the game, a frigid Sunday in Green Bay is pro football. And for years, the Vikings and Packers have captured the game's very essence. seasons and frozen breath were the backdrop for a decisive 32-6 victory, helping to seal a winning season for the resurgent Vikings. They finished 9-7. With each snap, they became more confident. And with each game, they grew as a team. Ahead seems a future as bright as their past, and the Vikings can't wait. Jerry Burns was the only rookie coach to lead his team to a winning record last year, but in 1987, he'll be without an old friend. After 11 seasons, Sammy White decided to retire. But in those years, the former Rookie of the Year and two-time All-Pro set club records with 6,400 yards receiving and an even 50 touchdowns. In '86, they said farewell to number 85. But for 1987, the Viking arsenal is well stocked. Tommy Kramer is in his prime. The offensive line is deep and talented. Runners and receivers are poised for another record-breaking year. One thing certain, Jerry Burns has made sure the Vikings will be exciting.
Deep down the middle, wide open Leo Lewis. He's got it to the 40. He's pinned away. He's at the 30. He's at the 20. He's running for the far side. The 10, the 5. Touchdown. He scored.
The defense is gaining a reputation, and so are the Vikings. Much was accomplished in 1986. They hope to attain much more, and in 1987, Minnesota will be back on the attack.
The 1986 Minnesota Vikings highlights were brought to you by New York Life and its 9,500 agents and representatives who offer you quality financial products and services to help you get the most out of life.